Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America Trading. Thank you for joining us here today on our podcast entitled The Secret War on Cash, where we take a good hard look at some of the changing things that are taking place in our markets and our economy, and what the effect that may have on you, on me, and all of us. I have with me my co-host, Chris Agelastos. Chris, thanks for being here today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, we just wrapped up a podcast recently where we're taking a very specific look, or a more in-depth look, let's say, into the physical products as it pertains to buying gold. And as we were signing off on our last podcast, we talked about how on this one, which we're going to do, we wanted to take a little deeper dive into the market, the silver market, and some of maybe the physical aspects of that, products, etc. As we get started here, however, as you see, for those of you who are viewing this, you can see on your screen, and for those of you tuning in, it's in your link. One of the things about silver, and silver is really, it's been moving along. In fact, the gains or growth this year, I believe, has been roughly 20% already. And it kind of has been a bit overshadowed by gold, which is not altogether uncommon because gold is, banks buy it, institutions buy it, individuals buy it. And, there just seems to be a greater overall news wheel as it relates to gold. But silver, as we've talked about before, is a sympathetic metal, and meaning like it tends to trend by and large the same direction or manner that gold does. So let's first start with this article talking about the industrial demand and what's happening there. From what I understand, the industrial uses of silver are hitting record levels right now. And tell us a little more about what's happening in that area.
Yeah. So with manufacturing, silver has always been very popular. It's used a lot in electronics, especially, chips and motherboards and connections and things like that. But one of the big things spurring the increased demand right now is green energy, and even more specifically solar power. A lot of silver is used in the manufacture of solar panels. So we're in a situation now where we have quite an increase in demand, over 20% or so. And the current supplies and production coming out of the ground are actually going down a bit. So it's, the age old adage, supply and demand, right? A demand spike, supply shortage, deficit approximately 200 million ounces going into this year. So there's just a big demand, and that's really what's behind the bulk of the push currently.
Wow, that's amazing. I would not want to be looking down the gun barrel of that short position for sure.
Yeah.
That'll get you pinched in a hurry. Well, with that being said, there are reasons, as you just mentioned here, as to what's driving silver, which then the next question I think to that would be, where is silver going? And this next article we have here, very interestingly enough, is making probably one of the boldest predictions, that I've seen so far, where Michael Oliver is saying that silver should hit an all-time high of above $50 an ounce, and that by November. Now, when you look at the price of silver today, roughly speaking, is about $28 an ounce. So when you're looking at $28 an ounce, let's just for our purposes here today, just call that $25 an ounce, just to make the math easy, and say at 50, you're talking between now and November, the price of silver increasing by 100%.
Right.
So that seems like so far-fetched. It seems like a number that couldn't possibly be real. But in your opinion, Chris, is there a chance? Is there any reality to this that we could in fact see this kind of a move out of silver this year?
Oh, certainly. A couple of things. We were talking a bit ago about demand. This is the second highest deficit of silver that we've ever seen. Okay, so we've got really record demand. And what I like about Mr. Oliver is he's not selling silver, right? So People would expect a precious metals company to say, well, silver prices are going to go higher. What he does is analyze trends and looking at the market and the supply and demand side of things, and looking at the major momentum shifts that we've seen in the silver market over the last year or so. He's predicting these big moves between now and the election. And let's say he's off and it only goes to 45, right? Or maybe he's off and it goes to 55. Either way, I think people could agree with where you are, now in the upper 20s. That's a major move.
Oh, for sure. Well, you're right. I mean, as you hedge the thing, let's say he's wrong and only goes to 45. I reflect back to when we were talking at the end of last year on our podcast about gold and how they were saying it was going to reach levels of 3,000, and we hedged that and said, well, let's just say they're wrong. Gold was hovering at $2,000 an ounce, but let's say they're wrong and it just goes to 2,500 next year. That's still a pretty good move, and yet now we're knocking on the door of 2,400 right now.
Right.
And the year is, by and large, only just kind of begun. So,
yep.
It is interesting that, when you look at the fundamentals of what's taking place in our world and our economy, and we really only touched on here in this podcast here today, the kind of the supply demand aspect as it pertains to industrial, some of the other uses, et cetera, not really getting into even the investment aspect of it, in terms of what individuals are doing. And, one of the attractive things about silver in relation or comparison to gold is it clearly has a much lower price point or entry point for individuals.
Right.
And that's where, there used to be an old expression or saying when it came to buying like stocks, where it's a lot easier for a stock, or a concept, I should say, a stock to go from $1 to $2 versus a stock that's at $100 to go to $200. But yet in the investment world, the percentage gain or increase is just the same.
Yeah.
And so looking at the physical market of silver on your screen now, you have the offer for the introductory offer to new clients for the Walking Liberty Half, which is a great thing for anybody who's even contemplated or consider getting into the market. It's got a tremendously low price point. It's something that, you can take advantage of, not just getting the metal in your hand, but because it's a little bit of an older item, you're not paying a premium for it, but you might find a premium develop there later. But let's take a look now at some of the things that, in the actual physical marketplace. And on your screen, or CC will be putting it up here shortly, from your website. It talks about buying Morgan silver dollars. And we put a chart up there for people who like to take a look at things in a graphic sense, not that kind of graphic, but in a graphic fiction. Nonetheless, tell us a little more about Morgan dollars, and it runs a comparison there to what a Morgan dollar has done traditionally or historically against just the price of silver. Explain that a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, so Morgan dollar it was a very popular coin, minted mostly in the early 1900s and late 1800s. And what's great about them is everybody kind of treats them as like kind of the original silver coin, and everybody thinks of a Morgan, it kind of trades as like a 1 ounce coin on the market. However, the nice thing about them is, again, we talk about supply and demand. There's a fixed supply of these coins, right? So they haven't made these since the early 1900s. And so when demand picks up for silver like this, we tend to see these coins shoot up quite a bit more than just the percentage growth of the spot price. So like we were talking about in our previous example, if silver doubles between now and November approximately, we can expect something like this with a very limited supply to grow by even more. And so it just gives you some additional upside potential. But at the same time, having that limited supply protects you on the downside of the market. So we all know, gold and silver prices don't just move in a straight line. There's periods of time where they grow, and also little dips along the way. And what's nice about these coins is they tend to really hold their value strong on the downside. So I have a lot of clients that prefer them because they get that same upside potential with really even more growth potential, but they are much more limited on the downside risk. So again, a silver coin is a silver coin. They're all great, but it's just one of the additional benefits of having a company like us where we'll explain some of these differences between the products rather than just trying to throw somebody into a one-size-fits-all situation.
Right, for sure. Well, and I know, it's been said that the Morgan silver dollar is the most popular ever U.S. minted coin. With that being said, over the years, I've had several clients or prospective clients ask, well, why do you think that is? And it's a very good question. I mean, it's a silver dollar is something that, has been around for forever and ever. But one of the things I used to tell them, from in my experience anyways, I had a grandpa who, when he'd come into town and whenever I'd see him, he'd give us shakes. And a shake, he'd come up and shake your hand. He's teaching us a good firm handshake as young men.
Okay.
But when he did that, he always would have a silver dollar in his hand. And he'd have palmed a silver dollar and give that to you. And my point is I think that part of that popularity is just due to the overall familiarity people have in seeing it over the course of their life. But it is a beautifully designed coin as well. It's not pure silver. It's got a slight amount of alloy in it in order to, it was used as currency. So it didn't, bend or get marred up as easily without having that alloy in there. But certainly, from a timing standpoint and, the points that you gave in terms of being able to kind of capitalize on not just having some silver, but having a form of silver that can offer, again, based on historical performance, a little better price appreciation as well. So, well, Chris, thank you for that. And for those of you tuning in, if you'd like more information on silver, on the silver market, some of the products out there, please contact our office. You can do so by phone at 1-800-289-2646. Or visit us online at www.swissamerica.com. We thank you so much for tuning into this podcast and look forward to having you tune into some of our future ones as well. If you have not subscribed, please do so. And we'd love to hear from you on social media as well. So, Chris, thanks again, and look forward to having you up here sometime soon where we can talk about more exciting financial news.
Thank you. Take care.